Hi everyone. I want to talk today about using your intuition, your entire brain to plan or to help you to make decisions. If you are just using your brain, your analytical brain, or your fight or flight brain to make decisions, this is not the best way to do it. Our brain is just the analytical thinking, rational part is a really crappy planner. I'm going to give you some tips at the end to help you maybe start on this journey, but let me just tell you a little bit of why your brain is a crappy decision maker by itself, just using the analytical part of it. So, first, we have to realize that all of us have a sort of programming, right? And this programming happens when we are very young, and it's basically how we are taught to function in the world. And so we have to recognize that since you were really young, you were taught to sort of take direction from the outside in, right? So we're taught from our parents, from our teachers, from our bosses. This is the way you do things. Don't worry about your feelings. Your feelings don't matter. Just pay attention to what I tell you, and then you're going to get the end result that I want or you want. So we're basically taught to listen to other people in order to make decisions. So we're taught from when we're very young that there's a right way to do things. It's the way that we've been taught. It's the way that works. But the only problem is that this way might not work for you. In fact, some of it might work for you, but all of it probably won't work for you. Your analytical mind has a very narrow focus, and we call this beta brainwave states. So this is the brainwave state that you're in, most of us are in for most of the day. And it's this very analytical, logical thinking part of us. But the only problem is you can't really access a lot of your deeper insights or your deeper knowing when you're in this state. So our subconscious has access to about 95% of the information that we take in all day, every day. But when we're in that beta brainwave state, so that analytical, logical mind, we don't have as much access to it, especially if we're in high beta, which is this mind loop. So, when you have, let's say, you want to start a business. And so your mind will go, okay, well, it'll look at everything in the past, right, that you've learned that people have told you should do or that other people have done. So it'll go, okay, well, this person's done this. You should do it that way. You should take this class. You should do this. So we end up, and I see this in my clients a lot, so we end up with this confusion, right? So we're all up in our brain and it's doing this mind loop in high beta. So we can't see all of the possibilities or tap into what's best for us. We're just seeing this mind loop of what should I do? This is what you should do. And our brain will a lot of times create these goals that are way too big. Like, okay, so you need to start making 100K a year by next year. And these are the logical steps that you need to take it. Like, you need to make a website, you do this, and it's all up here in our mind loop, right? Or the opposite, our analytical, our brain, or we have sort of like a fight or flight response too when we're in that mode of staying safe. So it'll say like, oh, you could never do that, so you might as well give up and not do anything, right? So this is where procrastination comes in. Okay, so we have these sort of in our brain, if we're just using our brain, our analytical mind, or our fight or flight mind, we have these two spectrums, right? And it's really a very narrow focus. We cannot see beneath. We can't see that 95% of the information that we take in or that's around us every day that we absorb is we take in through the subconscious, which our analytical brain doesn't have access to in that brainwave state. So it's this very narrow focus. So when you're making decisions from this very narrow focus, you're like limiting yourself to this many options. So if as opposed to this many. So if you are wanting to start a business and your brain is telling you how you have this many options, don't you want to have access to this many options? So that's where we tap into possibilities, to our intuition, and to all of that more 95% of the possibilities that we have to access when we're making decisions. So this is why we do, brainstorming and stuff, right? To access all those other options. The only problem is that people are still in beta brainwave states when they're trying to do brainstorming. So they're not actually accessing those deeper, when you're in the shower and you get that aha moment, it's like, duh, like, why didn't I think of that before? Because you're in that alpha, theta, slower brainwave state. So what we want to do is we want to create space in that mind loop for you to access the deeper, the slower brainwave states and more of your brain. So when we get into alpha or theta brainwave states, it's when you're in the shower, when you're cooking and you have this aha moment of like out of the blue, this idea, when you're driving, right? So those are the times when you can sense that you're connected to your intuition, you're connected to your subconscious and all that information that wasn't in that mind loop, right? So what we want to do, the goal is to create space, to create one of the main reasons why people can't hear their intuition is because they have that mind loop going 24/7. This is what I should do. This is what I should do. So we want to create a pause. The best way to do that is to meditate. And if you can't meditate, if you're having trouble meditating, you can go for a walk, go for a drive, go for a run. Anything that's going to sort of slow that mind loop down and create some space for you to listen to yourself. So your intuition, it's a very natural state. Everybody has an intuition, and we hesitate to listen to it when, during every day. But your intuition has that connection to all of those options, all of those opportunities, and the best way that is going to work for you. So your intuition is basically like a GPS that leads you back to your authentic path. So if you are looking to, let's say you're looking to start your business, instead of wasting all this time and energy, like so much energy, going in this loop of trying to figure out what to do, the best thing to do is to really create that space so that you can tap into your intuition and see what is the next best step for you to take in creating that dream and in moving towards creating a business. And so I have all kinds of tips and tools for you and ways to access your intuition and to plan using your intuition. So, the very first step I would say is to create that space, right? To create that time for you to be able to listen to the deeper parts of your inner knowing, right? So intuition is just, it's just simply knowing without using the analytical mind. And then, when we get further down the road, bringing the analytical and the intuition together. Another tip is just becoming aware of when you're in that mind loop, right? When you're in that loop of, I have to figure this out, right? I have to figure this out. Instead of um, planning with your intuition feels like trusting yourself, trusting that you have the answer. It takes some time to develop that trust, that intuition. Steve Jobs has a great quote. I can't like quote it off the top of my head, but he said you have to trust in something to connect the dots that sort of plan your life out, right? So there's this sort of like trust in yourself or in something that allows you to plan with your intuition. So, really, just recognizing when you're in that mind loop and bringing awareness to it is like a really great way of beginning to start this relationship with your intuition and creating that space. The third thing I would say is to start to look around and see possibilities, right? So, your brain, your analytical mind, will always sort of want to keep you safe. We need to look for what Lacey Phillips calls expanders. So, expanders, people who have done it, people like you, like let's say I want to start a business, but I don't come from a lot of money. I don't have anyone supporting me, or I don't really have an idea yet of what I want to do. Finding somebody who is similar to you, who has done that, who can serve as an expander, can open up your mind to see what is possible, right? So our brain, it can only really do what it thinks is possible, what it sees as possible. That's why, when people are underrepresented, like say, there's not enough people of color as doctors, then little, kids, they can't see themselves as being that. So the more that you can sort of open up your mind to the possibilities by looking for expanders, looking for people who have done this before, can help you open up your mind to the possibilities of doing things. And I would say, to connect to your intuition, to practice listening to your intuition. Think about when your intuition has served you before in planning. What happened? How did you feel your intuition when you took a leap, when you took a step forward? Did you feel it like in your gut, in your heart? How did it speak to you? Was it just like a knowing? And then what happened when you sort of followed that? So just kind of practice thinking about and acknowledging your intuition and when it has served you, to not just you, and it a lot of times goes against what our brain is telling us, right? That's not safe, that's not possible. So we really want to step into those possibilities. And I'm going to be holding a workshop. It's a 2-part workshop on December 2nd and 9th. If you can't attend the days, there'll be recordings, but this is a intuitive planning workshop for your goals for next year. So I'm really excited to talk to you about it and to give you all my tips and tricks for getting into your goals intuitively, not from just your analytical mind. So I hope you'll join me. The link is in my bio in the notes here, and I hope you'll join us for that. So I will talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.